All right, let's call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on October 6, 2021. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Mayor Donches,
Here.
Alderman Patricia Clee is out.
She is traveling and could not make it tonight.
Alderman at Large, Michael B. O'Brien.
Present.
Oops, I'm not sure if I was recording. Let me see. There it is, okay. Sorry about that. Alderwoman at Large, Shauna Kelly.
I'm here via Zoom. I can hear everyone, and I am staying safer at home.
Alderman at Large, Brandon Michael Laws. Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou,
Here.
and the clerk is present.
And we also have Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
All right, public comment. Is there any member of the public who would wish to address the committee? If not, we'll move on to communications, the first being from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, placed on file, and approve the City Hall IT office ceiling remodel project with Boucher Acoustic LLC, $14,080, Gate City Electric, $9,800, and J. Lawrence Hall, $2,768, for a total cost not to exceed $26,648. Funding will be through Department 129, City Building, Fund 81200, Buildings and Improvement, by roll call.
Now, Ms. Kleiner was here, and I think she's intending to address this. But, or are you here, Mr. Misevich?
Yes, Mayor.
Oh, okay, go ahead then.
All right. This project is to replace the ceiling in the City Hall IT office. There's 3 contractors because there's 3 different segments to the project. And since the project as a total exceeded the $25,000 limit, that's why we are presenting this to the Finance Committee so we can remain transparent as much as possible.
All right. Any questions, comments regarding this item? Alderwoman Lou.
2 questions. So this does not need to be approved by us, is that correct?
Well, we're saying it should be. I mean,
I see.
the technicality is that it's 3 different contracts, so we could say that each of them is too small, but because it's one project, we are bringing it forward.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Misevich, you said you want to be as transparent as possible. What do you mean by as possible? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, echoing what the mayor just stated, instead of, doing them separate, each contractor separate, which is, well below the $25,000 mark, we felt it prudent to present it to the Finance Committee as a single project and therefore going through the process.
Thank you. Sorry, that was a little humor. If I could just make a comment, I have not heard or I'm not aware that this project has been on the radar at all. And I just want to state that because the Capital Improvement Committee, and I know this is coming out of buildings, but there have been a lot of escrows into different accounts, and my concern is something out of the blue after a nearly major overhaul of City Hall seems to be jumping ahead of other important funding needs, such as Kinsley Street sidewalks, which are actually on the Capital Improvement Committee as an A1. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, I think we need to do a roll call because we have Ms. Alderwoman Kelly remote. Could you, Madam Clerk, please call the roll?
Alderwoman Lou,
No.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Laws is absent, I think. Okay.
Yes, he is.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Donches.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Next item, Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the contract for a conceptual field study for synthetic fields at Mine Falls Park with Nesra Engineering LLC of North Attleboro, Massachusetts, in the amount of $25,900. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation, Fund, Trust, Account, Classification, 55 other services by roll call.
And Mr. Popolo, are you on remote?
Mr. Mayor, I
Oh,
don't believe
yes.
he is. I'm here to fill in for him.
You're filling in for him? Mr.
Yes.
Okay, can you go ahead then, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. Unfortunately, Superintendent Popolo sustained an injury, and which prevented him from being here tonight. He is going to be fine, so you don't have to worry about him. But he could not be here tonight to present this item. This item, as noted, is for a field study to look at Mine Falls Park and potentially installing two synthetic athletic fields. There you go. This was put out for a request for proposals. 6 bid packages were received, and Nesra Engineering was found to have the best combination of qualifications and price. They were the lowest price, but also in review was found to have an excellent proposal with good references. So for that reason, we are recommending awarding this to them.
All right, and just by way of a little extra explanation, since Mr. Popolo is not here, the funding is from the cell tower in Mine Falls Park. We are very desperately short of soccer fields in the sense that they are overused. We call them rectangular fields now because they're also used for lacrosse and sometimes for other things. Fields are in bad shape because they are overused and don't have time to rest. These are the natural grass fields. We believe that ultimately we can fund potentially these. Once we get the cost, we have to see what that would be, but we believe we could fund these artificial fields through the cell tower in Mine Falls Park, which is, the revenue from which is dedicated to Mine Falls Park improvements. So that would be the source of funds, and that is the underlying purpose of the study. Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to agree with you 100%, if I may just briefly glom on to what you said. This city faced a crisis when we had the opioid crisis and different things, and one of the things that is most desperately needed is good quality sports programs for the kids to get into and teach them the right way of structure and everything. And part of this, with this study, is to enhance the current fields and, like you say, to make them available for year-round use and everything. I think it will show the public exactly what we think and try to combat and try to have a quality program for the youth of our city. So I am definitely going to support this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Jettie?
Yeah, as a former coach with the National Youth Soccer League, I can attest, I coached many games at Mine Falls, and I can attest to not only Mine Falls, but all of the fields in the city that, lots of times we were playing on dirt, having synthetic fields is would probably be a great improvement. But forgive my I don't know if naivete is the correct word or just lack of knowledge, but if I could ask the city engineer, why do we need an engineering study to before we put down a field like this? What's involved in the engineering that is needed before the field itself is covered with I assume some, asphalt and then, then a synthetic carpeting type material. I'm not sure what's going to be involved, but could you educate me about that?
Sure. So the study is got a number of steps to it, but they do field review. This an important aspect is a geotechnical investigation where they look at subsurface conditions. It was a surprise to me, but one of the things I learned as part of this bid being out there was that there used to be some sewer lagoons in this area. So to plan properly for these fields, which would be an investment above and beyond your typical grass field. That a higher level of investigation and planning is required.
I can pass on. It's too bad Mr. Popolo is not here because he's done fields like these down at Brandeis where he previously worked. But there are drainage issues. You have to get that right. You're putting a lot of money into this, and you need to figure out what the soil is, how the drainage is going to work, to make sure that the fields go in properly, and also give us a firm cost estimate.
Okay.
Because
thank
they
you.
aren't, they are not cheap. But again, you can use them far more than you can use a natural field without, deterioration. And you may recall, you probably do recall, that we used to have that Columbus Day tournament where the teams came into Nashua from all over New England, really. And at least now we lost that some years ago, 10, I'm not sure how many, but maybe more. But part of the problem was that our fields are overused and not in good shape. And, for, a regional tournament, that was a factor in them, beginning to go elsewhere.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. I just, again, want to bring attention to the fact that these improvements were in the second tier, were considered not essential in the capital improvement study, whereas having sidewalks that are appropriate for our Kinsley Street residents and just to make this city walkable would be a better way to spend this money. Thank you.
Well, certainly sidewalks are important, but because the funds from these cell towers are dedicated to Mine Falls Park, they can only be spent this is not tax money, this is the cell tower rental revenue. It cannot be spent outside Mine Falls Park, so sidewalks would not be eligible for this source of funds.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Yes. Alderwoman Lou?
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
it's okay.
Alderman O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. Next item from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase and installation of 5 overhead 360-degree vehicle detention camera systems from Electric Light Company of Cape Nettic, Maine, in an amount of $104,580. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering, Fund Prior Year Escrow, Account Classification, 71 Equipment by roll call.
Thank you, and I think Mr. Hudson, you're on this one as well?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and I know a little bit more about this one, so hopefully I can do a better job explaining. But we've been before you before with cameras, these traffic cameras. It's a newer technology for detecting vehicles. The older technology was loops in the ground, and when a vehicle goes over it, then it senses that. But those are prone to damage due to, paving operations, utility cuts, and those sorts of things. These new camera systems, they have many additional features, including the ability to count traffic continuously, so we can better adjust timings of signals, as well as enable us to remote in from our desktop to, if an issue comes up, we can remote in and see what's happening without actually having to go out and visit the location, so we can respond more timely to issues. There are some different camera systems out on DW Highway, but those are reaching the end of the useful life, so we're trying to replace those because they've been problematic. This contract with Electric Light, they'll replace the systems at 5 locations along DW Highway, and they're including a discount for salvage of some of the existing equipment out there as part of their pricing.
All right. Questions, comments? Alderwoman Lou.
Thank you. Mr. Hudson, the cameras that are out there now that are at the end of their useful life, do they also do counting of traffic?
No, they don't. No, it's kind of an added feature of these 360-degree cameras. Those cameras just look at, and they're usually single cameras. They don't look. The newer cameras look at a circular area. They can see the whole intersection basically. The old cameras, each camera would be per approach, so we kind of replace a detector, and then all it would do is tell you that somebody was there or not there. But we have had issues with those type. These 360-degree cameras are better because they're downward facing, and they don't suffer from some of the solar glare and other issues that the other cameras do suffer from.
Thank you. Could I just ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
Are they connected in any way to the electronic systems that switch, that control the right turns, left turns, et cetera?
Absolutely, that's their primary function, and they, as vehicles pull into a zone, you go in and you draw a box on the video where you want it to detect. As vehicles pull into that detection zone, then that sends a signal to the traffic controller, which then will call the phase and trigger the phase. So we found that they work very well. We've recently replaced one at Silver Drive on DW Highway. That's kind of a challenging location due to a short turn lane. But what we've been hearing is that just making that change to this new camera system has improved operations. It hasn't solved all the problems, but it's made things better just by replacing the camera. I would note too that the funding for this is, was money that was escrowed. So that's for this specific purpose.
Great, and just one follow-up, please.
Sure.
Do we have this new kind anywhere else in the city?
Yes, we do. We have about 12 of them at this point. So we've been where there's opportunity to, we've been using these and installing these. We have them. We have some on Main Street and various other locations around the city.
So it sounds
We
like
have some additional ones planned. We're gonna be putting out a bid for some cameras along Main Street. Again, we have money that we escrowed for that purpose, and we'll be seeking bids on that.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Lou?
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mayor Notches.
Yes, motion passes. Next item is again from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept, placed on file, and approve the sole source purchase of asphalt and aggregates from Bronx Industries of Hudson, New Hampshire, and Continental Paving of Londonderry, New Hampshire, in the amount of $144,500. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund General Account Classification, 61 Supplies and Materials by roll call.
Now, Mr. Ibarra, someone from the Street Department,
I am here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
go ahead.
So We're seeking to encumber these funds out of the street department operating budget. This is for materials that we use on daily operations, whether we're procuring sand, salt, or crushed gravel for any sewer digs or drain work or projects that we're working on within the department. And that includes asphalt. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Anyone?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Mr. Ibarra. I happened to watch, like other citizens, last night's candidates forum, and they were talking about East Dunstable Road and how the project did not tie in the street into other people's driveways. And from what my knowledge of it, this is an unfinished project, and it's still in the works. I drove down East Dunstable Road, approaching exit 4. I saw the sign that the work is continuing. So probably so that the people can understand, can you go over the contractor's scheduling and everything, just briefly, you know, that you're gonna try to get this all wrapped up before the snow, I imagine.
Yeah, that would be accurate. What I would do is refer to this to Mr. Hudson from engineering, as he's in charge of the paving program.
The mayor, if he wants to put
And
Mr.
that's
Hudson on
relative
the
to
main.
that.
Yeah, happy to address that. So yeah, that is an unfinished project as noted. It's a contracted project, so it's Sunshine Paving is the contractor. It's not John's folks that are doing that one. The final paving is pending. We hope to get that done by the end of next week, weather depending and that sort of thing. It has been challenging. This year we've done extensive ramps, ADA ramps for sidewalks. Just today we had a issue with a sewer out there on that section. So it's been final completion's been long coming, and I appreciate everyone's patience. But that should be wrapped up soon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, anyone else? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Lou?
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mayor Donches.
Yes, motion passes. The next item from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, is really an informational item related to emergency repair at the Public Health Building. Is there a motion on the agenda to just accept and place on file?
Yes. Well, the emergency repair notification in the amount of $30,159.90 at the Public Health Building. Without objection, Mayor Donches accepted the communication and placed it on file.
Are you here, Mr. Cummings, on this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if there was any questions.
You want to just give a brief explanation for the reasons?
Yes, happy to, Mr. Mayor. For the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. The emergency procurement in front of you is for masonry work that was necessary for the public health building. Back right around Labor Day weekend, or just a little bit before that, we discovered that water was intruding into the building, not from the roof, but from the sides of the building, and some brick reappointing needed to be done. Our construction manager worked fast and furiously to try to get a mason lined up. That was actually a very difficult challenge to do, but they were able to secure a vendor. They had a very limited window in which they could be able to perform the work. That, coupled with the fact that we've had some major weather events where we didn't want any type of water or rain to get into the building, we needed to perform this work expeditiously. It was approximately $30,000. It is in our budget. It is not an additional appropriation in terms of exceeding our total project cost, but it wasn't in the original budget for the GMP that we had signed with Martini Northern. So that's why we needed to increase the funds by $30,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Cummings? Alderwoman Lou.
Just wondering, I noticed in the original contract, or rather the amended contract, that figured into that was $14,000 in masonry work. Do you happen to know where that work was done and whether that could possibly have caused this?
Yes, we did look into that. It had nothing to do with this. That 14,000 was around, I believe, certain pockets of the building and really around the roof line because we did replace the roof. This actually was water intruding around windows and around the sides of the facade. And the masonry work was reappointing to keep the water from getting in.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Too bad.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you.
I guess there's a motion to accept, place on file, or well, I guess without objection, it's
Without
accept
objection.
and place on file. All right, thank you. Unfinished business, we have none. New business resolutions, we have R 21-165 related to a communications tower lease. Now, Mr. Mansfield negotiated this. Is he on the meeting? And Mr. Popolo probably knows quite a bit about it. You're not covering this, are you, Mr. Hudson, if you're still on?
What, I wasn't planning to, Mr. Mayor, but is this the one at Holman?
Yes.
Yeah, I have seen the agreement, so I'm familiar with it, and as having sat on the planning board, also I was privy to the plans. But yeah, the intent is a new tower will be constructed. It will host cellular equipment in addition to lighting for the stadium.
All right, and we will be getting a monthly
Correct.
fee of, do you recall, 3,000 something, right?
That sounds about right.
Mr. Mansfield is the communications director for the city, and of course, he could answer detailed questions, but Alderwoman Lou.
If you happen to know, I didn't catch this in the paperwork, but is that revenue earmarked to be used specifically somewhere?
For Holman.
Oh, okay. All
This
right.
is similar to Mine Falls.
Okay.
The cell phone tower revenue goes to the stadium.
Thank you.
All right, well, is there a motion on this?
Yes,
Have you made the motion?
I'm gonna make it now.
Oh, okay, sorry. If you made it or not, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to, for final passage, I motion for final passage of R 21-165 by roll call.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Has to be roll call.
Oh, sorry, by roll call?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Alderwoman Lou?
Yes.
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mayor Donches?
Yes, motion passes. Next item is R 21-172, Alderman Harriet Gathright. Now, this one would be, again, just to recommend final passage.
Okay.
But I don't know if we have anyone here on this other than me, but I know what it is. You want to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I motion for final passage of R 21, was it 160,
172.
170? What was it?
172. Now, this is again a Mr. Popolo situation.
172.
This
Okay.
has to do with the extension of the Holman Stadium lease with the Silver Knights, basically in the same terms that they currently have. They rent the stadium on a per-game basis, and the idea would be to extend the lease on the same basis as we've had them before. And we get a share of the net from the concessions. Now, if you want more detail than that, I think we're gonna have to wait for Mr. Popolo. So, what is your pleasure?
I do have a question.
ahead.
But it's just a simple question. I noticed that we have a contract with a corporation, And they say their address is the stadium, Holman Stadium. It just somewhat surprises me that I don't know, I mean, clearly, they don't live at Holman Stadium and they don't do business. I mean, it just surprised me, but I mean, I would still vote for this,
Well, they do have a place of business there. I mean, that's
for
where,
sure,
you
for
know.
sure, but I don't know, it's not what I expect. But, you know, I will vote for this. I'm just surprised that they, you know, if we were to wonder, who is this company or whatever, we'd have to, you know, if they were fly-by-night and they took off in the night, we would have nowhere to.
Well, they're a.
No, I know they're not.
They,
They've been-
they own the team and they have a catering business also down in Worcester. So, you know, they're a well-established organization. If you go over there, they're definitely there.
No, my thoughts go along the same lines as when we make appointments and we're not using, these people are not identifying that they, in fact, do live in the city of Nashua. It's just my feeling that I prefer it to be done differently, but, you know, thank you.
All right, anybody else have any particular comments? Alderman O'Brien.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to go on record as supporting this. The Silver Knights is one of the better venues within the city. It's really good, wholesome family entertainment to go out there, take the family to the ballpark, reasonable prices. I know my grandson has been selected twice to clean first and third base with a toothbrush, you know, but, and he did a heck of a job. But that's the type of format, and the citizens get to see tomorrow's rising stars. A lot of them are college grade players, and they get to see hopefully somebody in the pros in the future. So, and Nashua has a long history with that, as we can see down by Mandan and Lesher, two of the previous players that came up through there. So, very much in support of this. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the
Roll call.
Roll call.
excuse me. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Lou?
Yes,
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. New business ordinances, we have none. Record of expenditures. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the period of expenditures for the period from September 10th, 2021 to September 30th, 2021. All right, roll call.
Discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Lou?
yes,
Clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien?
Yes.
And Mayor Dodges.
Yes, motion passes. General discussion, any general discussion items from everyone, from anyone? Public comment, is there any member of the public that wants to address the committee? Remarks by Alderman, any remarks by Alderman? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. I did hear in the conversation the other night and tonight from Alderman Lou about sidewalks. I am such a supporter of sidewalks for the city, although installing them comes at a great cost. And for the great cost of installing them, it'd be nice if somebody took care of them. And I think if the mayor remembers, help me out, but there's an 1890 Supreme Court case or something around to that effect, that for every sidewalk that we install in front of somebody's house, they are not responsible. Now, I came from the city of Boston, where you are responsible for the sidewalks. So no matter how many sidewalks that you put in, you could be faced with the dilemma of some citizen not shoveling his sidewalk, and that the children or passengers are still at risk, and they're still out in the street. It's quite a conundrum, and it's more than the sidewalk itself. So although I really support it, it does enhance safety. I'm all about sidewalks, but I think we got to globally look at that issue and then come up and find out a way to supersede that state court, Supreme Court ruling where live free or die. You don't have to shovel your sidewalk. So, thank you.
Any other comments, remarks by Alderman? Alderwoman Lou?
Yes, thank you, Alderman O'Brien, for that comment. I just want to clarify that what's concerning me now is that we do have extremely out of repair sidewalks up and down Kinsley Street, and that's quite a populated residential area on either side of that street. And yet it's a main artery coming in. It's one of the main roads that allow delivery trucks and four-wheelers and the larger vehicles. So I think just to protect those people on the sidewalks, it's important to keep them in repair. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we don't have a non-public session. Alderman O'Brien?
I think would be your clerk.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright? You need to move to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
By roll call,
By roll call, I'm sorry.
please call the roll.
Alderwoman Lou,
Yes.
clerk says yes. Alderwoman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodges.
Yes, and the meeting is adjourned of the Finance Committee at 7:57 PM.